fun.
Just in case you didn't know that the meeting was being recorded, it is, y'all. It's being recorded. Just saying.
Okay, honestly, I love that they now say this. I don't have to wait for the little red dot, and you don't have to make fun of me anymore. So, I mean, I like it, but I feel like we're missing a bit now.
You know, you look like a specter over there today. Something's off without lighting.
Yeah, it is. It's because one light is all the way up
I
here.
just feel like we should be like, woo, something like that. I'm Jade, though.
And I'm Winona, and we remember to introduce
you
ourselves.
So, I mean, like, hi, pot.
Social distance style. Because
COVID is still out here.
Yeah, they found a Delta strain.
Let's not talk about that. We're not talking about COVID. Things. We're not talking about COVID. All right, so yeah, we wrote a bunch of books, right? And we like to call
17 of them.
Yeah, we like to call them literary life guides with pop poetry. Yes, y'all. We do have something wise to say, you know, in between the silliness. And
just not on this show.
Yeah, like never. Oh, anyway. If only I were me, and I thought divorce was bad, and I thought being grown up was easy.
Here's a picture of the old copy.
Oh my god. Wow, where did you even get that book from? Were you like in the attic?
Actually, no. I was cleaning out the couch, and that book was there.
Wow. I
did not find change.
I don't know how. Okay, okay. So with that, yeah. So all of those are Audible. You can check out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughtLadies.com. Did y'all recognize I said andithoughtLadies.com? Y'all need to go check that out. We actually have a logo now, y'all. Just saying. All right. And we have a co-host here today.
Yeah, co-host. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Tanya Todd, author, actress, and screenwriter from Las Vegas, and the host of the 52 Love podcast.
Absolutely, I love it. I know, it's just so wonderful. Like every time they come out, it's like, Tanya, I love it.
I could be on your podcast, but I'll never fall in love. So that's kind of
you're in love with yourself, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
Okay. But that's not important. You're not here to hear about us.
I need to talk on and on about our lives. That's crazy.
Although I could do that.
Oh my goodness, please don't. You're here to hear from my wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kathleen Wheaton. I live in Bethesda, Maryland, and I am a writer. I've been a journalist also for many years in Latin America, and for the past 8 years, I've been the managing editor of Washington Writers Publishing House, which is a small cooperative literary press based in DC.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful. We said 3 facts. She gave us exactly 3 lovely facts.
Lovely facts, right?
Yeah, but none of them dealing with her.
So do you have to go? Do you have to go into DC regularly from Bethesda?
Actually, no. We were virtual before it was a thing. Just because it's a cooperative press. We don't have enough money for offices, so you can see part of the press is behind me. The messier parts are under the desk that you don't see.
Yeah, I like it.
Papers and things. So we used to have meetings a couple times a year, usually in my living room, sometimes in other people's living rooms. But yeah, we've adapted very well to the Zoom world because it's just easy. It's easy to get the press together when all you have to do is turn on your computer as opposed to going someplace.
It is. And I was just feeling bad for you. You had to make that commute from Bethesda to DC. No, I hate that track.
Yeah.
So I have 2 rather silly questions. Number 1, my question is, it was in your living room, so I just wanted to know were there snacks, coffee and tea, or cocktails?
Well, it depends a little on when the meeting is held, and we always do have snacks. And in fact, I was talking about that with someone recently and saying, it's just so weird to think about having 12 people in my living room, which is not big, everyone with a bare face, handing around bowls of food, handing around mugs of tea, handing around the occasional glass of wine, perhaps, not even thinking about who else has touched it, and thinking about doing that. Well, now it's starting to seem a little more believable, but it just felt like I was thinking about something from another century, because we always had these meetings and then we couldn't, so they were on Zoom.
Are there good snacks? Oh wait, I'm using my question wrong. I'm sorry, don't answer that one.
Well,
no, it's part B of question 1.
Wow.
They were from Trader Joe's, so I don't know.
No, good snacks.
Don't even wanted to know because I was like, can we join the press for the snack?
For the snack.
They have delicious almond cookies, so don't
They do.
don't knock
They
Trader
do.
Joe's.
They have all these treats that are actually candy, but because they're at Trader Joe's, you have the idea that maybe they're healthy. They're not. It's
Absolutely.
candy.
Absolutely. Guilt-free eating. All right, Tanya, I know you have some really good questions.
I never did get that.
Well, you did tell us how the press handled lockdown, but you love travel. So I'm curious, how were you able to cope last year without being able to go everywhere?
Well, it was kind of odd, although actually for the last and since my husband and I lived in Latin America for 12 years and we were both correspondents, we traveled all the time. But since we came back to the US, we traveled much less. And so it was kind of a gradual thing. It was a little weird to just be home, but at the same time, what I'm feeling now, kind of going out into the world again, it's almost as if we've been overseas for a year. And we're, that sort of strange feeling when you've been away and then you come back and it's like, oh, I kind of forgot how to do all these things. But everybody's going through the same thing. So yeah, it almost felt like we were overseas in some kind of weird situation. And
did lockdown affect you as a writer?
Actually, I started thinking a lot less about publication and about kind of how people were perceiving my writing. And it really made me kind of go back to the feelings that I had when I was a kid, 12 or 13 years old, and just sitting in my room and writing for my own pleasure and not really. I mean, there was a time when you just didn't really know, are there still going to be literary magazines? Is there still going to be a publishing industry? It just seemed like maybe everything would stop. So in some ways it was very freeing. I didn't write about the pandemic, at least not in the time.
I don't think
I wasn't asking if it influenced what you wrote, just whether you were able to get things written, because some people, they flourished with creativity and other people, they were just too depressed to be able to write.
Right. Well, I would say maybe both things happened. Some days seemed bad and some days it seemed like, okay, I can do this. I mean, my kids are grown, so I didn't have to manage Zoom school, which I think was probably, other than getting ill or having relatives ill, that just seems like probably the hardest thing that people went through, was trying to educate their kids.
Making that shift.
Yes. Yeah.
I can imagine.
I look at parents in the community and I'm like, good job. I don't even know what's going on.
Good job.
Wow.
That was a lot of shuffling. Okay, so you were in your house, you wrote some wonderful things. Are we gonna see them soon?
Well, actually, I've had several stories accepted in the past year. That was another kind of odd surprise. And I have a story that's coming out next week. It won first prize in the Bethesda Magazine Fiction Contest.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So thank you. So that piece is coming out. It'll be online and in the magazine next week, I think.
Ooh, I'm getting it.
I'm excited.
Yeah. But you're not really new to winning prizes, because I read in your bio that your collection, Aliens and Other Stories, won the 2013 Washington Writers Publishing House Fiction Prize, but that was before you were part of them, wasn't it?
It was. And the way that the press works is that they have an annual contest, which is now open to writers in all of Maryland and all of Virginia. And they have both a poetry and a fiction contest. And if you win the contest, if your manuscript is chosen, they publish your book. They organize a reading at Politics and Prose, which you might know is this pretty important bookstore in DC. So they're really kind of punching above their weight that way. But then the catch is that you become a member of the press for at least 2 years. And so you volunteer, you're a judge for the future contests and kind of wherever they need help, then so the press is made up of all the former winners. And that was how
I see.
that was how I ended up being president, because the former president said he was retiring, and I perhaps foolishly in a meeting raised my hand and I said, so how much work is this? And next thing I knew, I was the president.
So how much work is it? What are your duties and responsibilities?
It's a lot. It's kind of, I mean, I think it's kind of like parenting in the sense that you can delegate work, but a lot of times it's easier to just do it yourself. So, it's everything from publicity to running the contest to getting the physical books to the printer and holding the hands of the new writers. And I mean, I won't say I did everything. That's not fair to say I did everything. We have a person who's done a great job with publicity. We have people who do copy editing, but you kind of have to keep rounding everybody up and saying, okay,
right, as president, you have to make sure everyone's doing their
job. You have to make sure
right?
that everyone's doing their job. But it's so much fun. I mean, to get that phone call to say that you've won is just like, that's so delightful. But probably the next most fun thing is to call other people and say they won. It's really a thrill. So
if we want these snacks, then we should probably try to get into the poetry contest.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
all you have to do is write a winning book of poetry, and then you get these peanut butter filled pretzels. As many. I think there are easier ways to get them, but sure.
No. Right? I mean, for a writer, is there an easier way to get it? Is there a more enjoyable way to get it? So, I have one more question. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you talked about getting publicity, and so as the show has a lot of authors that come on and listen to the show, what are some of the ways that you would suggest for authors to get publicity for their work?
Oh, wow. Well, I think social media is actually a really, I think that's key. And I know a lot of people are sort of resistant to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but it really is a good way to build up a community of fellow writers and fellow poets. And then when you have this community, I think you go to their readings, you buy their books, you support them, and it's something that I think then comes back to you, because it's a small press. We're not reviewed in the New York Times. We don't, we're not.
It's a small press, but the book covers look professional. I mean, it doesn't look like someone's doing this in their basement or something.
Yeah. No, we have great designers. I mean, the designers are they're not people in the press. I mean, usually somebody knows someone who's trying to launch a career as a book designer, for example, or as a graphic designer. And so we can pay the design, we can pay for something. So we pay for the book design and we pay for the printing, obviously. And
so other than the profits, what would you say are the major differences between your press and a traditional publishing house?
Probably size, I guess. I don't know. I mean, everything is actually one of the winners 2 years ago had 2 books published by I think it was Random House, but it was a big New York publisher, and she felt like she got a lot of love, she got a lot of attention. I mean, we couldn't organize the same kind of national tour or anything like that, but I think she felt like she got a lot of support from us, and we had a lot of local events. The events are also with lots of good snacks, I will say. Yeah, we really up our game for the readings, and we have wine and several kinds of cookies, good cheese, great.
So when's your next event?
Yeah.
Our next event is June 24th. It's at the Ivy Bookstore in Baltimore. Oh, the other thing that we did during the lockdown is we put out an anthology. we had planned to do this anthology before, just like a week before COVID. And so we put out the call for submissions, and then suddenly, like, there's this deadly disease out. And then, like a month later, George Floyd is murdered in Minneapolis. And there's just, everyone's going to protest, everyone's like distraught. And we're thinking, why are we putting out this anthology? I mean, who's going to read this anthology? Who's going to contribute? And then all of a sudden, we just got inundated with stuff, just amazing poetry, amazing short stories. And it just came together. It was like everyone was just kind of pouring out what they had experienced in the last few months. So anyway, that anthology just came out a couple months ago, and we're having our first in-person event at the Ivy Bookstore in Baltimore.
What's the name of this anthology, and where can people get it?
Oh, where can they get it? Well, you can always get books on Amazon, but we like to say if you go to our website, we have a bookstore connected to our website, and you can get a discount there. We also encourage people to buy books through Bookshop. I don't know if you know about Bookshop. It's an online bookstore that supports local bookstores. So we like to encourage people to buy.
Yes,
books.
we all encourage that.
Not through Amazon is Amazon, but
You can be pro local bookshop without having to be anti-Amazon.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, so what is the title of the anthology?
Oh, it's called right here.
Yeah.
This is what America looks like.
Oh,
And it's I will say it's fabulous. I mean, I don't have anything in this book except the foreword, but the poems and the short stories will just really blow your mind, and they're beautiful. And it's 100 poets and short story writers who live in the DC area, and they write about everything from their childhood to growing up in DC, to how they've experienced the pandemic, how they've experienced different kinds of discrimination, racism, homophobia. It's just really, really a rich collection, and just a showcase of local talent.
so what is that website where people can get it? I just wanted to say.
Oh, it's www.washingtonwriters.org.
Fabulous. All right.
Now, is there any other way to be published by the Washington Writers besides, submitting to an anthology or winning a contest?
I am so glad you asked that. Because we just also launched a new website. We've been very busy. We've launched a new website, and it has this kind of online portion. It's called WWPH Writes, and you can submit one poem or one short story or an excerpt from a novel, and it comes out every 2 weeks. It's sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen Split This Rock, which is it's a DC based kind of poetry cooperative, and every 2 weeks they publish a poem. Most of the poetry has to do with social justice in one form or another. Just really just amazing work. And we kind of modeled it a little bit on that. But so you don't have to write a whole book. You can just write one poem, one short story. We're really, and the other thing is, since we started doing everything online, it used to be just DC poets and writers. Now, if you live in Virginia, anywhere in Maryland, you can submit.
Lovely.
And so
wonderful chatting with you. Now I know, because it pops up on my Facebook page all the time. I'm like, I wonder who they are. So I finally
now you know. Oh, thank you for following us on Facebook.
Of course. I mean, you have to. You live in Annapolis.
So it's funny because
you live in Annapolis. You used to not be eligible. Now you are. So really, please, if you have a poem, a short story, please submit. We'd be really excited to
So Sonia, maybe you should submit, and then just we'll be the co-authors.
It'll fit right on it. All right. So one of the last questions. What are 3 pieces of advice that you would give new authors out here trying to get into this game, I guess, the game, right?
Yeah, let's go with the game.
With the game.
To get into the game. Oh man. I wish, well, I think you have to just keep submitting, realize that someone told me recently that her goal was to get 60 rejections every year. So that's a lot of rejections.
Only 60?
Yeah. Which may, maybe with 60 rejections, you might get 1-2 acceptances. So you just have to have this really tough hide, which, as a writer, as a sensitive writer, you also have to be sensitive so you can write, but then you've got to like put on your hide so that you can accept, just get rejected day after day after day and not let it derail you. Because that really is what it is just you keep writing and you keep submitting. And if you get any kind of like, you might get a form letter, but instead of just saying, have a nice life, it says, could you send us something else? Even if it's a form letter, send them something else the next day. And that's how to do it, I think.
Oh, wow.
Thank
I love
you,
it.
Kathleen.
Thank you. That is some really good advice. So where can people find out more about your organization and what you have going on?
And how to come to the in-person event. Not
Yes.
too many people, but
Oh, well, if you check out our website, washingtonwriters.org, it will tell you where our in-person events are. It will tell you how you can submit to the contest, the annual contest, which opens July 1st. If you have a whole book, July 1st is the opening date. It ends November 15th. So you've got those dates to get your book into shape if you have one that's kind of almost there. Otherwise, you can also submit one poem or one short story if you live in Washington, it's the DMV, we call it, Washington, DC, Virginia, and Maryland. And you can find out more about how the press works. You can also read some of the past books so you can kind of get a sense of what the competition is.
Are there any stipulations on genre?
It's only fiction and poetry. We'd like to do creative nonfiction and drama, but we just don't have the staff.
But in terms of fiction, it's just wide open?
Yeah, literary fiction more. We have gotten some books that have been like really good page turners, and I've said, honestly, you'd do much better with a commercial publisher. You'd make more money. So we tend to, publish short story collections just because they're really hard to publish. And novels, it's easier to get a big New York publisher to take them. And of course, the money is better. We've upped the prize now to $1,500, but still, that's it's not something you can live on. So if you can get a contract with a big New York publisher, of course, we'd say do that. But this is the next best thing, and we think.
And you get the community of your organization too.
Absolutely, Tanya, and that's just so key. It's really sustained us through the pandemic, and just also through the loneliness of writing, which, as you all know, no matter how much of an extrovert you are, the only way you get your writing done is to go in the room by yourself and sit there until you do it.
I want to just say 100%. I now believe that, because I tried to do I tried to do my writing while chatting with everyone. I got a page done. And I was a good job, a whole page while having like different conversations all day.
That is, yeah. Well, that's and I think that's how women probably throughout history have had to write, because a lot of time, they've got all their other responsibilities. Like Tilly Olsen wrote, "As I stand here ironing," you're just kind of writing a poem with one hand and ironing with the other. And I think that's how women have written probably for most of the time that they've been doing it.
Okay, so we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah,
I've had so much fun.
it was so fun. But all right, so where can they find out more about your organization one more time? Because we love for people to
And about you.
And about you and your book.
Oh, yes, I have a website. It's KathleenWheaton.com. But you might even you'll find more to read on the press website, which is washingtonwriters.org. And
so much
yeah.
for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. Tanya,
Well,
what
thank you.
can we find about you?
Thank you so
They
much.
can follow my writing my acting on IMDb. My podcast is the 52 Love Podcast, which is available on YouTube and Spotify. Or you could just go to my website, www.mstanyatodd.
Well, you
Great,
have
great.
because
How nice to meet you, Tanya.
isn't
You
it great?
too.
And thank you. And you're welcome. We really had enjoyed having you on the show, Tanya. You were just saying it in the future, though. You're gonna have some books right on Ms. Tanya Todd. We know that, right? Not just acting.
Eventually.
Writing too.
She has an agent. It's just a matter of
It's
time
a
now.
matter of time.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughtLadies.com. Y'all, please go check it out. It's our new website, or you can go to andwethought.com. But And I Thought Ladies, so much better of a website.
So if you go to andwethought.com, go to the ladies tab, go down to the middle of the page, and then in the middle of the page, you will see the charities that we proudly support. Could you please support them too? I mean, they still have to recover from a pandemic like everybody else.
Like everyone else.
Mhm.
Well, remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if.
You're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona.
And Jade, bye-bye. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.